The external male genitalia includes the penis that in addition to its sexual function, the penis acts as a conduit from urine to leave the body. The urethra, its main function is to expel urine from the bladder, although it also plays a reproductive role since the urethra is part of the penis and seminal fluid comes out of it. And the scrotum protects the testicles and major blood vessels as well as tubes that release sperm from the testicles into the penis for ejaculation. The internal male genitalia includes the seminal vessels that stores and produce the majority of the fluids that makes up semen, the testes that produce sperm and they secrete hormones, primarily testosterone, the vas deferens that transport mature sperm to the urethra, the epididymis that is a long colloid tube that stores sperm and transport it from the testes, prostate glands that secrete prostate fluid, that is one of components of semen, and the bulbotrial gland that the secretion is a clear fluid rich in mucoproteins that help to lubricate the distal urethra and neutralize acidic urine which remains to the urethra. The testes are where sperm are manufactured in the scrotum. The epididymis is a tortuously colloid structure topping the testes, and it receives immature sperm from the testes and stores it for several days. When ejaculation occurs, sperm is forcefully expelled from the tail of the epididymis into the deferent duct. Sperm then travels through the deferent duct through up to the spermatic cord into the pelvic cavity, over the ureter to the prostate behind the bladder. Here, the vas deferens join with the seminal vesicles to form the ejaculatory duct which passes through the prostate and empties into the urethra. Then ejaculation occurs.
I'm going to talk about the hormones in the human male body. Now, there is a lot of hormones in the body, but let's focus on 4. First, we have the follicle stimulating hormone FSH, which helps to control the sperm production. And the amount of FSH in men normally remains constant, so this can help to determine if the male sex organs are working properly. And this hormone is produced in the pituitary gland, or pituitary, which is located under the brain. Now, let's talk about luteinizing hormone, or LH. LH in men acts directly on the testicles, regulating the production of sperm and hormones, mainly testosterone. Now, LH is also produced in the pituitary gland. Now, the gonadotropin releasing hormone, or GnRH, works within FSH and LH. This hormone helps to trigger the testes to mature and produce sperm, and is released by the hypothalamus in the brain. Now, let's talk about one of the most important hormones, the testosterone. Typically, testosterone in males help to develop the secondary characteristics, such as facial pubic body hair, and also muscles. Also, this hormone helps to maintain the sex drive, sperm production, and bone health. And testosterone is mainly produced in the testes. The hormones that I mentioned works with a negative feedback. When the body needs it, the hypothalamus releases the GnRH to the anterior pituitary. This anterior pituitary creates the LH and FSH in order to create inhibin and testosterone. When The body acquires the normal levels, the hypothalamus stops to release GnRH, and the process stops.
Okay, let's talk about the female reproductive system. Uh, First, we have the ovaries. The ovaries are the female sex glands, and the woman have two ovaries the size and shape of an almond. Its main function is the production of hormones that ensure the proper functioning of all sexual organs and releases the egg each month during the reproductive life. Then we have the oviducts. The oviduct is the name given to the pathway from the ovaries to the outside of the body. The function of the oviduct is to lead the oocytes from the ovary to the uterine horns. In addition, it is the place where the fertilization of the ovilus occurs. Then we have the uterus. The uterus is a hollow muscular organ located in the female pelvis between the bladder and the rectum. The function of the uterus is to receive, maintain, and nurture the fertilized egg. Then we have the cervix, that is a circle that separates the uterus from the vagina and acts as a conduit for menstrual blood, sperm, and delivery. During pregnancy, its muscle structure helps hold the fetus firmly inside the uterus. Then we have the endometrium, that is a mucous tissue made up of mainly blood vessels and glands that are destroyed and regenerate approximately every 28 days. The endometrium's mainly function is to allow the implantation of a fertilized egg, which will later become an embryo, leading to the development of the placenta and the gestational sac that will protect the embryo. By last, we have the vagina. The vagina is the organ of the female genital apparatus that connects the uterus to the outside of the body. It is formed by a pathway covered with mucous membranes that maintain humidity and acidity and protect it against possible infections, and its hole is located between the urethra and the anus. The function of the vagina are: it serves as natural passage and outlet for the menstrual flow during the period. Through it, cervical mucus is secreted in the cervix before and after ovulation. It constitutes the so-called birth canal, and the vagina is the cavity in which the penis enters the sexual intercourse through the vulva, and the semen is deposited after ejaculation. Well, now let's talk about fertilization and implantation. Fertility is the ability to conceive a child. When sperm and egg are in the fallopian tube, fertilization occurs. When that single sperm enters the egg, the zona pellucid hardens to prevent the entry of additional sperm. The new cell thus created already contains all the characters of the future baby, from the color of the hair and eyes to the predisposition to suffer certain diseases. Then, the implantation. Once the egg has been fertilized by the male sperm, the resulting zygote begins its journey to the female uterus in a period that can last up to 5 days. About 5 days after fertilization of the egg has occurred, the new embryo reaches the female uterus and is renamed a blastocyst. First, the blastocysts attach to the wall of the uterus and then deeply embed itself in the walls of the endometrium. It is then when the so-called implantation of the ovule has taken place at a moment that begins the pregnancy. Now let's talk about the oocytes. The oocytes are female germ cells that are generated in the ovaries. But how it is transported to the uterus? Well, the ovule cells from the ovary and enters to the top. After it is released, it takes 12 to 24 hours for the egg to be fertilized by sperm in the fallopian tube. If the egg is not fertilized during this window, the egg dies and it is neglected along with the endometrium as part of menstruation. If the fertilization occurs, the egg travels to the uterus for the next 6 to 12 days to implant for pregnancy.
The hormonal regulation of a female reproductive system involves hormones from the hypothalamus, the pituitary, and the ovaries. The pituitary gland is often called main gland of the body as it regulates many of the activities of the endocrine gland. Located above the pituitary gland is the hypothalamus. The hypothalamus decides which hormone the pituitary should release by sending hormonal or electrical messages. Prolactin levels are regulated by the hypothalamic hormones, prolactin releasing hormones, and prolactin inhibiting hormones, which is now known to be dopamine. PRH stimulates the release of prolactin and PIH inhibits it. The posterior pituitary releases the hormone of oxytocin, which stimulates uterine contraction during childbirth. The uterine smooth muscles are not very sensitive to oxytocin until the late in pregnancy, when the number of oxytocin receptors in the uterus peaks. Stretching of tissue in the uterus and cervix stimulates oxytocin released during childbirth.
As we know, there are a lot of birth control methods. One of them, and it's important to mention, is the abstinence. It means no sexual intercourse. As you have no touch of your genital parts, this method of birth control also has the benefit of preventing sexually transmitted diseases and pregnancy, because there is no intercourse and nothing can happen. But we know that even though a lot of people do it, that's why there are a lot of birth control methods. So one of them is for the men is the vasectomy. A part of each vas deferens is removed while the development of sperm continues in the testes. Sperm cannot no longer touch the outside. They degenerate by diastasis and are killed. So this is a surgical procedure, and to prevent that the sperm cannot reach the outside. It completely prevents the pregnancy, but you can get STDs because of contact. For women, there is tubal ligation. All the oviducts are hooked and off the cut, which ensures that the secondary oocytes cannot move through the oviducts, and sperm cannot enter the oocyte. This ensures that you are not pregnant because there is no way for the egg to be fertilized, but you are completely exposed to 100 to contracting STDs. Oral contraception is that containing specific estrogen and progesterone mixtures. Low levels of these two hormones inhibit follicle growth, and estrogen does not increase, LH does not grow, and ovulation is not activated. When it is taken correctly, the pill is almost 100 effective in preventing pregnancy, but you are at risk of contracting a sexual transmitted infection. It is a small object made of plastic, copper, or stainless steel with a
which a physician inserted into a uterus, right here. The uterus induces changes in the endometrium, which prevent fertilized egg from being inserted. This one is one of the most successful forms of birth control out there. More than 99%, which means less than 1 in 100 women who use an IUD get pregnant every year. Because it is exposed, it is not prevent sexually transmitted infections because you have contact. Yes, you don't get pregnant, but you can get an STD. Diaphragm. It consists of a loud way, like a fixed disc-shaped piece, which is positioned on the cervix and prevents the entry of the sperm. This means that if you have intercourse, the sperm will not enter, and you can get pregnant because it has no way to get to the oviduct. Okay, so if used correctly, the probability of pregnancy in first year of using a spermidosol diaphragm is 6%, and it has non-effectiveness in stopping STDs.
Okay, so the male condom. The male condom is a non-porous latex covering placed over an erect penis that prevents sperm from breathing out the female reproductive tract. So, how to put and take off a male condom? You have to carefully open and remove the condom from the wrapper. It's very important not to use the teeth because you can break the condom. Place the condom on the head of the erect hard penis. If it is circumcised, pull back on the foreskin first. Pinch air out the tip of the condom. You don't have to actually pinch it, you have to grab it it's like a little ball, and then you unroll the condom all the way down to the penis. After sex, but before pulling out, hold out the condom at the base, then pull out while holding the condom in place. You have to grab it because if you don't grab it, you might get the sperm out, and that will really be bad. So carefully remove the condom and throw it in the trash. So protecting against pregnancy is successful at 90. Protecting against pregnancy is successful at 98%. These are extremely successful correctly if they use correctly and raising the risk of the female condom. It consists of 2 flexible rings bound by a silk of polyethylene. One ring is inserted inside the silk to fit over the cervix. The other stays outside the vagina, protecting the external female genitals. So, as a man condom, it's important to check the expiry date and take the condom out of the packet carefully. Squeeze the sides of the inner ring at the close end of the condom between your fingers. Find a comfy position standing with one foot on a chair, squatting or lying, so you can insert the condom into your vagina with your finger like you will put a tampon. Put the condom in as far as possible. The other ring will hang about an inch outside your body. Then, when you already have sex,
use your hand to guide your partner's penis into the condom. Then twist the other ring to pull out to remove it. The female condom is 95% successful on both counts when used correctly all the time. For the same reasons as male condoms, for example, these condoms can fail if there is a condom rupture, and it prevents STDs. Coitus interruptus consists of removing the penis from the vagina just before ejaculating, reducing the probability that sperms will reach the egg and fertilize it, causing a pregnancy. The effectiveness of this contraceptive method is very low because it has 22% chance of failure because it does not prevent the spread of sexually transmitted infections, and you can get sperm even though you do it before ejaculating.
Morning after pill contain relatively high estrogen and progesterone levels, give negative feedback inhibition of VSH and LH secretion, causing ovaries to cease their estrogen and progesterone secretion. Declining estrogen and progesterone levels cause the endometrial breakdown and thus block implantation. When 2 pills are taken after unprotected sex within 72 hours and another 3 pills are taken 2 hours later, the possibility of pregnancy is reduced by 75%. Once again, you are supposed to contact so you can get a STD.